Religion, The Real Matrix, the book based on African spirituality and mythology from ancient Kemet or Egypt. Written by author Heru Ifangbemi, the book shows that all Western religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, plagiarize from African spiritual systems to come up with their religions. Buy the book on Amazon. Link is in the description box. Let's go. Promote your brand here at Viral Hip Hop News. Hit me, Sam Ant, at dlsmediainc1@gmail.com. dlsmediainc1@gmail.com. Let's go.
We like to, when we have a guest on, we definitely like to do some research, and you have a page that you definitely articulate a lot of your feelings on. We definitely appreciate it. So another topic that you brought up was, who was the brother I'm thinking about right now? Let me think. It was Jim Clyburn. You called out. You called out particular black media and asking why aren't they covering certain things about James Clyburn. Please tell the audience about the issues currently going on with James Clyburn and how he's manipulating a lot of people, in particular our people, into doing some very disgusting things behind the scenes in politics.
Oh my gosh, y'all are the best. You really are the best. Y'all know all the buttons to hit for me. Let me tell you. Let's remember that James Clyburn was a kingmaker for Joe Biden. Remember when Joe Biden's presidential campaign was lagging? He used his down south political prowess and access to revive his campaign, okay? Remember when he came out for him? So he didn't just cause many of the South Carolinians to vote. Remember, it had an impact on the surrounding southern areas that gave Joe Biden momentum and traction, yes? And they label him as a kingmaker. Sometime after that, he went on national news and they asked him, were you expecting something? Since you put your reputation on the line to assist Joe Biden and you're really credited as reviving his presidential campaign and causing him to win? He said, want something? Want something? No, I don't want nothing. Why am I bringing that up? This is the same man that before that demonstratively said we ain't getting reparations, and he ain't pushing reparations. I don't want y'all to forget that. He was not, there was no gray line. He was very forceful and held to the no. Y'all ain't getting no reparations, and we're not pushing reparations, and you're out of your mind, and it's unthinkable, it's undoable, and we're not even going to bring it up. Don't forget that, right?
Right.
So I started to use this ridiculous slave mind mentality that Black folks have no right to expect to get anything. So you ask Black folks, well, you know, what about reparations? You know, what about you all putting people into office, making sure that you all get substantive legislation and, you know, economic legislation and good, you know, blah, 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 right? That's how Negroes are. Want something? What I look like wanting something? So-and-so accused me of wanting something. This is a slave mentality and dangerous. And this is the reason why we are seeing legal and illegal immigrants get resources.
Yeah.
This is the reason we're seeing white Ukrainians get resources. White Afghans get resources. The LGBTQ community get priority and political protections and all kinds of benefits. And of course, Karen and Karen and Kevin and them still getting all of the loopholes and the benefits politically. And then we wake up and finally smelling the begonias and saying, how is it after all this time we're not where we ought to be and everybody is passing us up? Because we are refusing to demand that they do something substantive. So Jim Clyburn, ProPublica just put out a piece that shows that his aide put it, I believe it was the text message excerpt I read to my audience, uncovered that, you know, all the Black folks, I want y'all to keep that history I just gave you in mind with Clyburn, okay? So I said all that to say, so recently, remember when Clyburn, he was up for election, you know, he was making it look like, because, you know, everybody was calling him the kingmaker, right? They was calling him, you've been in office for all of those, you know, all these decades, and you know, your reelection is certainly a shoo-in. It was not. A lot of folks didn't know that a lot of the South Carolinians in his areas fled. A lot of Black folks left the area. So he was concerned that his seat was vulnerable. Guess what he did? You hear Joyless Reed. You hear formerly Don Lemonade. Somebody say formerly. You saw all of them Negroes out there, right? They were sitting up there decrying the fact that these Republicans are gerrymandering black neighborhoods. They're silencing our voices. They're diminishing our votes by gerrymandering, right? Which means they know that there are certain black enclaves that have a lot of power. So because they know that their numbers are dwindling and they don't have that much authority, they just remake the maps. They remake the maps to give them jurisdiction, basically, right? Political jurisdiction in those areas. So this has been something we're saying that the Republicans are cheating. They're remaking the maps. James Clyburn was quiet, specifically in South Carolina, when some of that was going on, when his fellow white Republican congresspersons were being called out for doing it. Guess what we found out? His aide, text messages I read, and other information that came forth, ended up working with the Republicans, and they gave assistance to the Republicans because it benefited James Clyburn at the expense of other congressional persons getting the seat or getting elected in the future. And nobody is talking about it. You heard all these Democrats screaming and hollering, right, about how anti-Black the Republicans are, right? But they are not saying anything about James Clyburn and this gerrymandering scandal that he helped to silence the voices of his own people. That's what I've been talking about lately.
Why do you think some of the mainstream media, Black media in particular, hip hop media, you named a few, won't cover it?
Well, they're not going to cover it because they're committed to the Joe Bidens of the world ruling over us. They're committed to keeping the same failing system in place. These are not people that want true Black upward mobility and progression. These are people that denigrate us and dog us for wanting reparations. These are people that refuse to allow alternative voices and these types of things to rise because they believe that it's a threat to the Jim Crow Joe Bidens. These, and mainly and mostly, it's because they're committed to their own biscuits, beloved. They're committed to securing, like Jim Crow, James Clyburn, their seats. For example, Joy Reid, allegedly, I got to be responsible media, especially on y'all's multiple platforms. I got to be real responsible. Okay, this is Vicki talking. This is Vicki talking. Allegedly. Joy Reid, her slot on MSNBC was in danger. She was supposed to allegedly have already lost that spot some months ago, right? That some of that news was leaking and came out, and she managed to still keep it, even though they were switching out people in her place. And allegedly. 1 second, family, I'm gonna have to mute this as an announcement.
No problem.
That break. So, fam, the everybody, as we always say, everybody that's kinfolk, everybody that's kinfolk everybody ain't what? Skinfolk? What is it? Ain't kinfolk.
Right.
Vice versa, whichever way it is. The point is, I call them Black looking people. So that's the difference when we say, why is it mainstream media isn't covering them? Because they want to make sure that those individuals stay in place. I was talking about Joy Reid a minute ago and the danger that her position was in on MSNBC. And I was told from an insider, allegedly, that she was dealing with the White House. So in the event that she lost her place, that she would have a secure position inside of the White House. So when you see Joy Reid pushing Hillary Clinton, pushing the Biden agenda, pushing all of that stuff, they're trying to secure their own individual seats. But for those of us that have a collectivism mindset, you see, we don't see our individual success as success if the masses of our people, right, aren't in a position to where they're able to do well. Yes, we want to make sure we're secure. Of course, we have to do that first. But we have a heart for our brothers and sisters around us. So that's the main reason that they refuse to cover it, because they know it puts them in danger. Don't forget, it's the Joy Reids, it's the Black looking mainstream media entities that were attacking social media, folks, right? This is where this is the platforms we use. This is to shut us down. What are they finding out? We found out that some of the statisticians have come out now and said that the majority of folks nowadays trust alternative media more than they do what? mainstream cable news. They're losing their position. It's personal, it's individual. That's the reason why it's a problem. And that's the reason why they're committed to supporting people that's not going to upset the system, whereby their biscuits, as I say, their bones and biscuits are replaced. When we say bones and biscuits, I'll say this quickly. People think it's funny, but it is funny and it's disturbing, but it's also history. Our history shows that our open enemy literally used chicken and biscuits and other food as an incentive when a Black person sold another Black person out, or they did something to preserve the white man or the white woman's position. Do you understand? So this was literally part of the incentives or awards that we got for doing something good was food. So when we call them a bone and biscuit, we're basically saying that that's the mentality they're in. So I just wanted to say that.
Thank you for that.
Right. So back in February, I seen one of your videos. I didn't get a chance to watch it. But the title was Dr. Umar does not believe Blacks are ready for reparations. Did he actually say that? And what's your thoughts on that? I didn't hear him say that, but if he did, what's your thoughts on that?
My issue actually regarding Dr. Umar was he did a podcast. And first of all, I believe in some of his work. I want to be clear about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I had the privilege of having a couple of interviews with him. One of them kind of went awry at the end, but he, Lord have mercy, just Lord. But I have to say he did kind of sort of indirectly tried to reconcile that through a video and brought up my name in it, saying, so I felt like that he was making a conciliatory effort to clear that up. So I want to say that, okay? With that being said, he did a podcast where they were talking about reparations, and he was basically saying that we're so sick, and then in terms of mentally sick, to really know what to do with reparations. He was also talking about my understanding, the devaluating of the amounts that we would get of the US dollar or something to that effect, if I remember correctly. And then I felt that people were making all of these stipulations and disclaimers and hoops that Black folks have to jump through in order to get it. That was the issue that I had. And I felt that his talking points are very dangerous, because I felt that the other side would use that argument, and someone as high profile as he, to argue against us getting reparations. And that's exactly what we saw Dr. Phil use recently, didn't we?
Yeah. Yep. You're right.
That was my issue, was to allow someone with such a big megaphone to sit there. And this goes to the slave mentality. What's the slave mentality? That Black folks got to work real hard for anything we get. We already created America. We got to do this. We got to do that. We ain't ready for this yet. And if we give Black folks, that's what he was basically saying, the reparations down, we're going to turn around and put it right back into the white communities. Let me tell you something. And this was my issue. There are no stipulations for a debt that you owe. I said no stipulations. Can you imagine, because this is a legal issue, going into court, you win a judgment, and somebody wants to know that when you were in 9th grade, did you ever smoke a blunt? They want to know, have you ever ran a red light or had a traffic thing? They want to know, has your account ever been overdrawn before they decide to give you? If we got approximately $365,000 each, and that's one of the numbers I heard, and I decided to go to the dollar store and get me 365,000 pairs of flip-flops.
That's on you.
Me what I do. Of course, I advocate that we come together so that we can be collective, like Dr. Clark teaches us, so that we can maximize our economic position.
Yeah.
But don't get that twisted with the debt that's owed, and you telling other Black folks what they have to do with their money and providing all of these barriers as to why they can continue to delay us getting it. I said there are no stipulations for a debt owed. That is the issue that I had with what he said.